almost in line with the Pancham book. So that was something around 2009. We thought that for a song to survive in our memories, it should be there for at least 20 years. So initially the cutoff was 89. Later we completed this book in 13. So
I can see that you have a math problem, because in fact it's called 50 classic Hindi film songs, but it features 52 songs. So as you can see, there are but that's good because you get to know about 2 extra songs as a result.
A slight correction, actually 53 songs.
There you go. Which means my math isn't too good either. Yeah. So I think this is a fascinating. I hope that this will be a fascinating session because this book reviews the history of Hindi film music. And the history of Hindi film music is like the history of our hearts and our minds, while real history is about boundaries and battles. Hindi film history somehow, because it's so universal, and it's both at a national level, because as you go through these songs, you can see how, as a country we evolved and how our thought process evolved from, bright optimism and idealism to maybe something a shade darker. And we're in fact privileged to have Javed Saab here, who captured that spirit, I think, at one point in the 70s very sharply. So just the music, it's kind of the history of India in 50 songs. So I really strongly urge you to look at the book. But I thought, since you're both veteran quizzers and there is so much trivia, so many facts packed into these songs, I thought we'd play a few of them and ask you a few questions, because there's so many interesting things that, many of us don't know. So I'll start with this one.
Are there audience questions as well?
There will
like
be,
in every quiz?
Yeah. There are Malavika will be providing prizes.
I think I need to shunt this to Balaji because he's the ghost hunter.
Okay.
I found many ghosts in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I hope...
But I mean, lyrically and musically, what do you think are the techniques that people have used?
There are some specific notes. Yeah. For example, I don't think that didn't come out very well, but it's meant to be something like that.
There are things like diminished chords. Diminished chords are used.
That's what I meant.
A minor sixth is used.
I was just trying to encourage you by telling you that don't worry, it was sounded mostly.
But Aayega Aane Wala is also historical for another reason, I think, because it introduced us to a great singer. Would you like to talk about how that happened? I mean, apparently the practice was different before this song came out. So what happened exactly?
So, in those days, they did not have the name of the singer. And on the 78 RPM shellac, the name given was Aayega Aane Wala, sung by Kamini. So around that time, All India Radio, Kamini was the screen name of Madhubala. So the radio channels, they started receiving phone calls that we want to know who actually sang the song. That's how the name Lata Mangeshkar came up.
So that was the first time that the playback singer was actually publicized.
Right.
Her name became, and that became the practice from that point onwards. Right?
Apart from cycle.
Apart from cycle. But that was the practice. From that point onwards, people knew who the singer was.
Yes.
Right, okay. So here's another song. It's another song in your list. This was the first. I think this was number 3. We'll play a little bit of it.
Please play 4 more bars.
Right.
Everything.
That was one of your key reasons for selecting.
Also the score. Don't you think it's a lovely score? Mix of Bhairav and Kalinga Rag.
Right.
In 1951.
Right. There's a story, Javed Saab, there's a story, I mean, obviously we're lucky to have you because you know the story in this book is that apparently Kavi Pradeep was originally supposed to be the lyricist for this film, but he was very, yes, Baijubara, but he was very upset because Naushad Saab kept him waiting. So he said, nahi karenge ye film. So, which was why, subsequently Shakil Padayoni became the lyricist. So I wanted to ask you, sir, is this still the norm? I mean, is it that the poets in the industry have a very strong identity of their own, and I mean, does this happen a lot, or how does it work, or is it more professional and commercial now? Because I get the sense that those old lyricists were all great personalities, they were poets and personalities in their own right. So how is it now? Is it different? Or?
May I start from a different point? I'm finding it so uncanny and almost eerie. I have shot a new program for ZTV. The shooting started on the 4th of this month and ended on the 16th. I can 26 episodes. And the content of those episodes is Indian film music from 1950 to 1975. And I have discussed in every episode 1 year.
Right.
And that's why this was rather fresh in my memory.
Yeah, 1950.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I suppose that, you know, by and large, in this society, in India, we have more premium on face or voice than on the word. And writers rarely get the kind of position they deserve. Rarely, it happens rarely. Even when they are writing the script, the credit goes either to the actor or to the director. It has been decided that film is director's medium, whether he has the best script under the sun and he has directed it, but it is his medium. So writers generally don't get their due share of credit. But there are exceptions, like Sahir, like Shailendra, and there were many writers, you must have never heard their names, who have written exceptionally good songs, even during that period. How many people are familiar with the name of S.H. Bihari or Shevan Rizvi? How many people know who is Yogesh? Yogesh has written exceptionally good songs. But writers are generally low profile, or they are kept low profile. So they don't get their credit, but some of them break this barrier and make their position. Like Sahir was a Rajendra Krishna. They were star writers. Is much older than the cinema itself. Indian cinema in 30s, when it became talkie, Alamara, the very first film Alamara, had no confusion that we will have songs in the films, and they were fasten your seat belts. 50 songs in Alamara. Maybe 2 minutes long, but there were 50 songs. Before the talkie, we had Urdu Parsi theatre, we had Yatra, we had Nautanki, we had Ram Leela, we had Krishna Leela, we had Tamasha. Then Sanskrit plays like Mirch Katika, Shakuntalam. 3,000 years back also, we had songs in our narratives. So this is the way we have narrated our gathas, our epics, our stories. This is a way, and we should not be embarrassed about it at all. Now today I see a certain kind of embarrassment in young directors about the film. But again, it is a necessary evil for them because the music sells. Besides that, the music is the best advertisement of the film, forthcoming film. So they keep the songs, but more often than not, the songs are either in the background today, or they are what you call item songs. Songs which are kind of a perk. They have nothing to do with the narrative. But if you see Guru Dutt, if you see Bimal Roy, if you see Mehboob, if you see Raj Kapoor, then you will see that the songs were carrying the story forward. They were a musical scene. They were giving a kind of insight of the character. Besides that, again, a great loss that we are facing at the moment, an average Indian on the street doesn't read books of sociologists, doesn't read about, go to learn about culture or values from some scholar. These film songs were giving him values. किसी की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निसार, किसी का तो this homilies of wisdom were provided by the songs that has ended. Now the song, this so-called item song, is like a monkey sitting on the shoulder of Madari, which is the story. Sound performs its back. It has nothing to do with the rest of the thing, because the Madari is ultimately selling kajal or surma. It has nothing to do with the monkey. So ye ek taraf ye hai. Otherwise they have songs in the background which, I mean, they have nothing to do what is happening in the foreground. The song goes on. So I think the situation is not very desirable. You see, you only write poetry when you are sensitized.
Right.
Whether joy or sorrow or concern. That is where you feel sharing the emotion with somebody, and it connects. You know, if you are sad and everybody is celebrating, they will not listen to you.
Yeah.
But there is a certain element of melancholy in everybody.
Yeah.
There's certain sorrow, certain sense of loss. And today we are living in some kind of a false bravado. It is humiliating if you will say that I'm feeling sad, or I'm defeated, or I'm lonely. So ये जो false bravado है, doesn't allow you to meet yourself. So we are living a kind of false exuberance, because it is unnatural that you don't feel sad at all. It's not possible, but you are not accepting that. ऐसा थोड़ी, उसमें खुशी के गाने भी थे, रोमांटिक गाने भी थे, लेकिन दर्द भी था. वो भी एक लाइफ की रियलिटी, जिसे आज हम जब डिनाई करते हैं तो वी आर डिनाइंग अ पार्ट ऑफ अवर पर्सनालिटी. वी आर नॉट एक्सेप्टिंग आवरसेल्फ.
सर, इजाजत हो एक सवाल आपसे पूछ सकता हूँ. पहले जो फिल्मों में अक्सर सेंटिमेंटल सोलो हुआ करते थे जी, जैसे कि दुखी हीरो गाना गा रहे हैं, दुखारी हीरो गाना, आजकल वो सेंटिमेंटल सोलो जो है खास देखने को नहीं मिलता है. And the sentimental solos were one of the most sublime ones in terms of poetry or melody. तो ये sentimental solo के चले जाने से, do you think that is in a way reason for the fact that melody is not what it used to be? आप इससे सहमत हैं कि, or am I wrong?
So I believe that any trend which was to begin with, or any fashion, or any attitude, any philosophy, any ism, to begin with was coherent, logical, reasonable, desirable, progressive, certainly turns into its own caricature slowly with time. So what had happened that yes, I was defending emotions, but then emotions went really haywire and turned into exaggerated sentimentalism, where self-pity had entered and so on and so forth. So what happened, the younger generation was, these films were inflicted on younger generation when they were very young, and they develop an aversion with sentimentality, but then the pendulum moved the other side totally, and now anything emotional is not acceptable to a modern filmmaker.
You see that a lot.
Yeah. So अरे नहीं, ये तो it becomes too therapy. So अब जो है sentimentality जो है is not welcome, but I suppose the real emotion, feeling should be. अब उसके चक्कर में they have thrown the baby also along with the bath water. That is what has happened.
Next question.
That is what I was suggesting earlier, that these were the songs that were giving a chance to an average person to think, to introspect, to go into the depth of things which one otherwise takes for granted. And this has gone out. This is a great loss. This is a beautiful song. Maybe it has certain element of sadness or a sense of futility. It doesn't matter. What matters, then you will know that yes, life is thinking about. We should think about life at least. So that is important. And this was the philosophy that was through the song they were reaching the common man. And in a way a suggestion to think or ponder or look back. That has gone. Somebody has suggested, I think it's a very good suggestion, that what human beings should do is construct two huge arms and put on this planet on the both sides and start calling Earth planet Bhangra.
I'm from Delhi, you don't have to tell me that.
Shobhan, one more thing.
mean, it has been rather overdone now. I mean, Bhangra was very popular when it came in Naya Daur and some other pictures. Now, in every film, everywhere, if you will have the same color, that the law of diminishing utility has already applied on it.
You know, by 1972, as this book reveals and as you know, we kind of know, a different tone had started creeping into music in Hindi films, and here's an example.
Being a script writer, I was concentrating on the script, on the prose, not on the poetry at that time. And most of our scripts had hardly any room for music. As a matter of fact, once Sahir has written few films as lyricist with us, and he complained to somebody that wherever there is an opportunity to write a good song, they make a scene there. So where do I write the song? So it's understandable. But with the emergence of the angry young man, and again the angry young man very quickly became his own caricature, because that purity, that intensity that you saw in early films. And I would like to mention one more film. Generally, angry young man image is attributed to Salim Javed's scripts, and by and large it is true also, but they are not the only people. There was one film called Millie, and Amitabh Bachchan played an angry young man in that film also. So Rishikesh Mukherjee has also created one angry young man in our film.
So you were part of a greater movement in art at that time. You know, it was a number of people who were expressing something.
You see, thankfully we did not have the slightest idea that we are a part of a great movement. You see, now right from India to California and Paris, where people have written theses. Somebody, her name is Mary Cohen in California. She is writing about the metaphor in Salim Javed films, and how they have contributed in colloquial language, or how their film represented the contemporary discontent of socio-economic. We were totally unaware of it. We were writing stories which we thought they are interesting stories, and we were. But I'm happy that we were not aware of it. You see, remember, if the writer is aware that he is a part of this and he is depicting this national or regional or whatever emotion, it means he is out of it. He is watching it and depicting it. If you are within, then you won't know. Like a fish won't know what is water. So we were lucky fish who were in the right water. That's all. Yeah, because never it had happened before in HindiFilm-Music. But as a matter of fact, even at that time, I don't think I was writing lyrics that time. What is the year?
Yeah.
1980.
This was
1980.
after Silsila.
I wrote my first song in 81. But I found that the Antaral, the Mukhra was all right. आप जैसा कोई मेरी जिंदगी में आए तो
We thought it was okay.
Actually, Baap would have been the better.
We used to sing it as Baap Ban Jayega when we were young.
But doesn't matter.
It would have transformed the character of the song completely.
But I thought that the antara, the later stanzas were not very clear, not audible at all because of the music. So this was the beginning of the end.
Right, yeah.